I'm back with another case study. This subscriber has written out 43 red flags that he's identified in the woman he got involved with. Even though he's completely clueless about relationships, he is humble enough and has enough courage to write in and share all the mistakes he made so that you watching can learn from the errors of his ways. Whether you are a man or a woman viewing, this is definitely going to be an eye-opener. Let this be a warning to all of you. When a man or a woman has not prepared themselves for a lifelong commitment, they are going to lack standards, they are going to overlook red flags, and they are going to be very lustful indeed, which is what happened to this gentleman. The biggest problem I see today with men and women is that they do not educate themselves on traditional values, family, marriage, gender roles, doing things the right way. The average person does things based on what they feel. They go out there and date without not even knowing what they want in a spouse or why, and then they're surprised why they keep leaving a string behind of failed relationships. And then they only end up hurting themselves more emotionally, finding it difficult to trust somebody new. They end up settling and ruining their entire lives. Do not let that be you. How many men today feel prepared to be a father or a husband? That doesn't start when you're in a marriage. That starts when you're single. That's when you begin preparing yourself. How many ladies know how to be a good wife and a mother or are learning about that? Very few. But if more do, more women would have high standards for themselves. But regardless, there are good men and women out there who are learning about these things. And remember, you're responsible for the quality of partner you choose. It's only harder to find a good woman if you're not a good man, and vice versa. But when you prepare yourself and make yourself ready for a lifelong commitment, you bring your standards and your morals up. You're going to give somebody a background check. You want to make certain that now they're the right partner for you because you have made yourself ready. And that is what I want all of you doing who watch. You should all be learning and growing in that way. And if you're not, you're going to have a big shockaroo when you get older and waste away more years of your life and end up in the wrong relationship. So with that said, let's dive right into his email because it's going to be a long one. So let's start with his background. And I'm going to call him Jimmy to protect his identity. He says he's Canadian and throughout his life he's only had 2 long-term relationships, 2 years each, in his late teens to early 20s. He said, I was very clueless back then, not in touch with my emotions, but incredibly focused on my purpose. From age 22 to 24 and a half, I struggled with mental health, depression, and anxiety. With a ton of time, effort, therapy, and reorienting some of my belief structures, I mostly healed from that. Good. I became way more emotionally attuned, better at boundaries. Not good enough, apparently, he says. Yeah, after you watch this video, you're all going to agree with that statement. Better at understanding relationships. You have a big knowledge gap and you've got a long way to go. Because you're filling in information from guys that are lustful, dating coaches that date messed up women because they're messed up men. Remember, there is no jurisdiction or legislation. There's no, body. There's no structure that's the right reference point on the internet. Anybody can come in and talk, which is why you should all do your due diligence and make certain that what somebody teaches is true. Trying it out for yourself, observing reality. Is this matching? Is this making sense? Or is it just emotional? Is it lustful and sinful? And this is when it comes to relationships. A lot of these dating coaches, they're all red pill. They only teach guys to be lustful, how to hook up and sleep around. But they're not traditional. They don't want marriage. They don't want family. Some of them are effeminate. And a lot of guys take advice from men like that. And then they wonder why they just don't get results. But when you find relearning relationships, it's going to be all right. So he has a knowledge gap, clearly. And he admits that. And that's what I like. Now that he's made the mistake, it's humbled him. And he's realized what I'm doing isn't working. I need to learn the right way. And he's also bought my book, he said, so he's definitely going to fill in his knowledge gap. I became better at managing my emotions and so forth. I tried dating through my mental health struggles, which naturally didn't go well. Yeah, because if you're mentally unwell, you're a walking red flag. And if you have an anxiety disorder, something like that, or a mood disorder, your prolonged deep depression, bipolar, yeah, you are in no shape, way, or form prepared or ready at all to be in a relationship. You need to get yourself right first. After I had recovered, I tried dating again at age 25, but didn't have much success. I just wasn't nearly as unhealthy as before. But I figured I was still missing something, and it wasn't obvious to me what. I gave it up. Around a year or so later, considering dating again, I didn't try. The lockdowns happened, so I didn't try. So then I was going to be moving soon. I considered a long-term partner, but I didn't try. So this brings me to the age of 29. I still wasn't looking to be dating because I wanted to get my career on track more first, more have long-term stability, direction, which would allow me to attract a wife and possibly have a family if this happens soon enough. And this is the lie that a lot of men fall for. You think you need to be some type of multi-millionaire or have all the money in the world to get a wife. If you are a young man listening, you're in your late teens or early 20s, and you're just starting your career or business, and you don't have much going for yourself, that's a great way for you to discern if that woman is really by your side or not. She's designed to be your helpmeet, your support. It's very easy for a woman to support you when you're successful and everything's going well. But what about when you're building yourself up and you're at the bottom of the barrel? That's when you really want her by your side. Because then when you hit the top, you know that she really is with you for you. And another mistake you're making here, attraction has nothing to do with finances. You can't buy love. You see a lot of rich, successful guys try and use their wealth or their success to attract a young, beautiful model, and they only get gold diggers. You lead with your wallet, you pay with your wallet. Good women only want a man they're attracted to, who they share the same values with. They don't really care too much how much money you make. Of course, a woman wants to feel secure that you're going to lead, protect, provide for her as a man, but she will be by your side no matter what, because she's with you for you. So even if you aren't completely made, you're not a made man, it doesn't really matter. Is she with you for you? Of course, as a man, you want to get your job, career, or business in order, absolutely. But while you're doing that, and let's say you do come across a good woman, there's no reason why you shouldn't continue on with her. A lot of guys want to push that away, don't. So, of course, you want to make sure that you can take care of your wife, but you want her by your side at the beginning to see what she's really like. So I want you guys to really think about that. Okay, you don't attract a wife because you're making good money. You attract a wife because you have the qualities that make you a good husband. You're a righteous man. Love, joy, peace, kindness, goodness, faith, self-control, and patience. Those are the hallmarks of a virtuous, righteous, honorable person. It says it in the Bible, Galatians 5, verse 22 through 23. You can use that to judge the fruit of anyone. If you have that and you're prepared to be a father and a husband, a woman that's made herself ready to be a wife is going to see that in your character. Oh, he's a good man, and she'll be safe with you, whether you have that money or not. Don't worry about that. But I was focused on finishing my schooling, PhD, STEM, along with interest in politics, okay? And his hobbies are interested into music, things like that. Has a lot of family, but he's in a small population. Okay. So he lives in a very, very small town. So that's a little bit about his background, kind of what he's like. So from what we know, he struggles with a little bit of depression, anxiety, mental health. We also know that he lacks understanding when it comes to relationships and has poor boundaries. But he's actually willing to grow and improve. So now you know something about Jimmy. Let's get into the red flags. What happened with this girl? How did they meet? So, in summary, he says that they met, she aggressively pursued me and love bombed me. I ignored some initial red flags. After our first time having sex on the first date, the first real big red flag became apparent, which I still ignored. Well, this tells me that you're a walking red flag too. Because what sort of man who has self-respect and standards is going to sleep with a woman on the first date? Guys love to point the finger and say, oh, if a girl sleeps with you right away, she's promiscuous, she's not wife material, which is a true assessment. But the men who do it too are in no way, shape, or form ready to be a husband. This tells me that you lack control over your sexual urges and you're not upholding any standards here. Because any man who's looking for a woman he can spend his life with inherently knows no intelligent woman with any dignity is going to give her body to you on their first date. That's a massive red flag in of itself, but it also shows a lot about you too, Jimmy. He says there were roughly 10 themes of red flags by the end of a situationship. She had mental health, severe anxiety, and very lonely. He says scarcity mindset. Don't use red pill terms with me. Just say it for what it is. She lacks integrity and standards. Victimhood mindset. Very anxious attachment style. So cluster C personality disorder. Okay? Very fearful. That's getting severe. Number 5 is recent breaking from an abusive long-term relationship. Number 6, her ex wanted her back and still harassing her. So she's going to run the risk of rebounding to you because she's not healed. Unemployed. Single mum without custody of her children. It's like when I see single men that don't have children date a woman that has had multiple children by different men, I know there's something wrong with you. It's like, I want a family. I want a woman I can grow old with. Why are you choosing a girl that already failed at that multiple times? Is the red flag not large enough for you to see? Number 9, she deceived, lied to me on numerous occasions. Number 10, she's a recovering hard drug addict. Well, you didn't even mention promiscuity here, but I think that goes without saying, doesn't it? The severity of some of these red flags became worse and worse with time. Many of the red flags weren't apparent until after we'd stopped seeing each other. The red flags you ignore in the beginning become the deal breakers in the end. If there's one red flag, there's usually more. A Proverbs 31 woman, a godly woman, has no red flags. An honorable man that's righteous has no red flags. You can have misunderstandings. You don't have to communicate properly with each other yet. Those are normal things that happen in a relationship. But red flags, character flaws, serious issues with their ability to bond, that's, not the normal parts of the ups and downs of a relationship. That's a reason to disqualify someone from your life entirely. Okay? So, even though you say, well, some of the red flags weren't apparent until later, the fact that you already saw a few at the beginning was enough. And as I say all the time, it doesn't matter what country you're from, what age you are. A red flag is a red flag, and they will always show up at the beginning, whether you're blinded to them or not. Of course, later on, when you look back, you'll realize there was more than just one or two. He said almost everything up until the third date felt great, but she was escalating her love bombing. The third date gave me a weird vibe, and this is when the switch seemed to flip. She got bored of me, or otherwise lost interest. This was immediately followed by her being on and off, lukewarm and cold. Turns out she was lining up a monkey branch guy, but it wasn't her ex, and was breadcrumbing me in the meantime. She connected, met up with him, flaked on the next day, but continued to string me along. Very insecure girl. Right up until I set a healthy boundary. Within 2 days of that, she was in a relationship with a new guy. This all happened within a 3 to 4 week time span from my first meeting her until their new relationship. So you were only getting to know her for 3 to 4 weeks, which is very early into the dating and courtship phase. I lost my emotional composure 2 days later, wrote a respectful burn the bridge letter. Why? If you know she's with some other guy, just, 3 to 4 weeks doesn't warrant enough emotional connection for you to send her a message like that. If you said 3 to 4 years, that's a different story. 3 to 4 weeks is really nothing. She flipped the script on me, pretty much blamed me for the way she treated me. She felt justified because she thought I didn't care about her. She's had multiple kids by different men. Her womb has been imprinted. This woman is lost. She's not wife material anymore. I tried to reconcile with her, failed. She refuses to meet up and work out our apparent misunderstanding. She said she needs a week of space and contact ceases. Someone's right for you, they don't do this. She continued to breadcrumb me after that without my responding. He says, my current understanding of how she lost interest, attraction, or respect, because she's messed up. She's not concerned about spending her life with a man for the right reasons. And she was never really into you, so she settled for you. That's what you need to understand. One of the 3 possibilities for why she lost attraction was she got bored, I was too nice, or I was too cold. This is the issue I see with men like this. You see, you lack understanding of relationships, you get involved with the wrong girl, and then you're trying to come up with different theories as to why she lost interest. Instead of asking yourself, why did you get involved with her, and why did you stay when you saw that she was not right for you? Because this would not have happened if you pulled the plug when you saw the first problem and walked away. That's called self-respect and self-awareness. And he's trying to give all these likely scenarios of what happened. On our 3rd date, the bad feeling induced by her were projected onto me. And since I didn't raise her up enough by consoling her or teasing her, it was emotionally assumed to be a reflection of me. So you're with a girl that's promiscuous, she's been ran through by multiple men, she's an ex-drug addict, her life choices show, it's evidence that she's not with it mentally or emotionally. And now you're trying to rationalize why she lost interest in you. She was a loose screw. She's lost. It's nothing to do with you. She's always been like this with other men. Remove your pride. It's not about you. He says, combined with her getting bored, me being too predictable, too familiar, maybe I didn't match her level of enthusiasm or interest, so her attraction tanked. If you're with a woman where she looks at you and thinks you're a handsome man, she's emotionally stable, she bonds with you, you have the same values, you want the same things out of life, you're equally yoked, you're on the same page, she's going to just want more and more of you, and her feelings are just going to grow and deepen. She's not going to lose interest or enthusiasm unless you're abusive or crazy, sure. But if you're a normal man and she's a normal woman, this does not happen. You were with the wrong girl, that's it. So she then began looking for my replacement, stringing me along in the meantime, either for validation, to wean off me, or keep me as a backup plan. I began to pursue more, which didn't help. She eventually came back a few days later. She started to pull away. We had a big night, 4th date, when I made her laugh. You see, you're focusing on the little micro actions that you've done to raise her interest. What the fuck did she do to you, right? What did she give to you to make you feel respected or dignified? What effort did she put in? You knew she's messed up. Stop worrying about the little things I did. It's not about you. It's not. But that wasn't enough to rescue it. You were not supposed to rescue it to begin with. You already started off in an immoral, broken way. It was never meant to work out, Jimmy. Do you not understand that? Because you had sex on the first day. What woman that respects her womb, her heart, or her future husband does that? Like attracts like. You had issues and so did she. When you try and date with problems, you find more. But that wasn't enough to rescue it because the other man already had her attention. It's not about the other man, it's about her. She's the one who's the problem here. She's damaged. Once a date was secure with him, she ditched me, leading to more pursuing by me. When I eventually set the boundary that bothered her so much, I was afraid to lose my validation or be rejected. Then she immediately ran to another man, locked him down in a relationship, and started making TikTok videos to sexualize herself because she was no longer getting attention from me. I'm going to say this once in this video and I'm not going to repeat it again throughout this video. Emotionally immature, damaged, or immoral women seek attention and validation, where emotionally stable, mature, or godly women seek only the presence and love of the man they care about. That's it. It baffles me how guys try and make it work with a girl they know that's full of red flags. You know, this isn't like build a wife. What do you say? Why does it say in the Bible in Proverbs 18:22, he who findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtains favor of the Lord? Because that woman, she's prepared for wifehood and motherhood. Therefore, she's on the lookout for a husband. And when you are prepared to be a husband, you spot her, it's a blessing for you and for her. Can you imagine you go to you make a lot of money, you want to treat yourself to a luxury. You think, okay, I'm going to spend 50 grand on a nice BMW, for example. Can you imagine if you go to the shop and then they bring it to you in little pieces? You have to build it yourself. What? What are you talking about? I want the car. I paid for it. I want it ready-made. This is what guys want to do. I want to get a damaged woman and I'm going to try and put her back like she's a Lego toy. No. She has to rebuild herself if she has problems and make herself ready so she can present herself to an honorable man who's done the same for himself. Then you can work and grow together. And if you don't have that, you'll never have a relationship. You'll have a daddy fixing a little girl situation. So here's the list of the red flags. Long, right? Red flag number 1, single mom. Number 2, recovering drug addict. 3, very lonely. 4, unemployed. 5, desperately trying to get a hold of me after first meeting. 6, told me her ex still wants her back, which means that he's still in the picture, she's still in contact with him. Probably a very fresh or recent breakup. 7, early on she sent me a photo of herself that she clearly sent to another man. 8, sexualized TikTok dance videos, but I didn't know this until later. Well, you already had 7 red flags early on. Number 9, she was beautiful when she was younger, but she was picked on a lot in high school. That's not necessarily a red flag. If she doesn't heal from it, she hates those people and it's affecting her self-image, then perhaps. 10, anxiety so severe she couldn't go a day without THC. 11, tried to get me raw the first time without discussing STD or birth control. Turns out she had her tubes tied. Regardless, she tried to sleep with you on the first date. That in of itself tells you what sort of woman she is. But the fact that you were willing to do tells me that you were very lustful. You're a bad boy. 12, the breakup was really recent with her ex, even though she'd originally told me it was 2 years, but it was actually 1 month prior to meeting me. Liar, pants on fire, isn't she? 13, said her ex was abusive. 14, said she was willing to tolerate him in her life, but he was harassing her for a while longer. 15, he had a restraining order against her. I guess she's got some indication that she's abusive too. 16, she didn't have access to her children. What sort of mother is that? And you think, what, you're going to grow old with this woman and have kids with her? You couldn't anyway because of times had changed. So what are you going to do? be the surrogate dad, taking care of another man's seed. Get out of my sight. That's low. Your standards are 6 4 under, mate. Red flag 17, victim mindset. Yeah, of course, it's everybody else's fault but her, and she's ruined her own life. You reap what you sow. Number 18, not sober nearly long enough as she originally claimed. She said 4 years, but relapsed less than a year ago. As you can see, when there's one red flag, there's usually more. Number 19, she concealed a lot of these red flags and deceived me about some things until after the first time we had sex. So she thinks she can give you her body, and now it's going to make you stay with her if she confesses who she really is. But look at her life. Look at the track record of her actions. Different, single mum, doesn't have custody of her kids. She can't even keep a family together. So, and now she hasn't learned the lesson, so she thinks what? She's going to do more of what she did that ruined her life? And it's going to somehow work? Number 20. Turned out she had 4 children rather than 3 with 2 different men. Red flag 21. No custody of the fourth born child either. Yeah, no surprise. Red flag 21B. Why you lied about how much she was dating, looking around. Red flag 22. She wasn't careful enough to ask me about my sexual history because she doesn't care about it. She wouldn't want you asking about hers, I'm sure. Red flag 23. Within 2 weeks of knowing me, she was way too into me, almost at I love you levels. 24. She thought I wouldn't want her if I asked around about her, and people told me the gossip. Red flag 25. She flat out admitted that she wanted me to make her happy. What about her wanting to make you happy? Number 26. The ex was still in the picture in regular contact. Number 27. She was a high school dropout. Number 28. Possibly seeking money from me after pushing me away and only knowing me for a few weeks. Well, if she doesn't have access to her kids and she's got a restraining order and doesn't have custody, there's a very high chance that she may even be ordered by the court to be paying child support to him or those different fathers. They won. Number 28B. So you're separating different red flags with another subsection. Unable or willing to respect soft boundaries when she wanted something from me. Red flag 29. She gave sexual nicknames to the new guy that she posted on Facebook. Red flag 30. Ditched me for a literal father figure. Red flag 31. Immediately locked him down after I set a healthy boundary. 32. Made a public declaration of being together with this guy within days of pushing me away. 33. Says she loves him within a few days. These aren't even red flags because they're not referring to you now. Like, stop hyperfixating on a damaged woman. I've never seen a man with lower standards than you. And I've had hundreds and hundreds of studies, case studies, emails from men and women from different countries, different ages in the last few years. And I've never seen a guy with such low standards. We had a guy recently whose ex had slept with 87 men, but after he learned the lesson, he walked. This is a girl you've known for 3 to 4 weeks, who's had 4 kids with different men, and you're still worrying about what she's doing with the new guy. What's she going to do? Is she going to come back to you, and you're going to be so glad some used up 304 wants to be with you? Come on, man. Red flag 34, she says she wants to marry him within a few days. Red flag 35, there were multiple CPS and police visits between her and her ex. Child Protective Service, for those of you who don't know. Red flag 36, my extended family's reaction to hearing who I was dating. Yeah. Red flag 37, She had active TikTok videos in my relationship where she sexualized herself. Red flag 38, you say scarcity mindset. Don't use red pill terms, as I mentioned before. This is just a girl that lacks standards and integrity. Red flag 39, she had a mental health crisis. Red flag 40, validation seeking machine. Red flag 41, very anxious attachment style. 42, not happy with her life, trying to make external hairstyle changes to feel better. Red flag 43, devil horn photos. Godless and immoral. As you can see, guys, this is what happens when a man doesn't have any standards for himself. But he also lists his mistakes. Number one, I was too available, even though she was initiating. You just don't get into playing mind games. Okay, if she initiates, you can respond too. You can initiate too if you like the girl, if she's consistent in showing you interest. But these don't even matter, because your mistake was staying with her when you knew she was messed up in the head. That was your mistake. Everything else you're listing here is just obvious. But I want to still read the mistakes for those of you listening, regardless, to just see this is what happens when you're deep into a situation like this. Looking at it from the outside, you can see what was on his mind. But when you invest emotions, you want to see it through. So you're more willing to stay, turn a blind eye. That's what he did. Okay, so he's worried about his texting. Second mistake, driving to her brother's town for our first date, rather than postponing the date until she got home. Yeah, dates are always one-on-one. If you're not boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband and wife, you don't go double dates or anything like that. You need to know each other one-on-one. Mistake 3 is going along with the change in plans just as date number 1 began. So you're basically doing what she says. She's not into you. You were just there for comfort. Mistake 4, I didn't make it clear enough that I wanted more alone time with her elsewhere, rather than babysit all day. Well, but you didn't have any standards for yourself, so you were just happy that some damaged woman who was pretty much the bottom of the barrel is giving you a chance. Mistake number 5, tolerating her being on the phone a ton during our first hangout. Mistake 6, I should have asked more about her relationship with her parents when we were on the topic. Mistake 7, I made too much effort to drive her home and back to her brother's place afterwards for THC. So you're basically her errand boy. Though if I hadn't done this, we probably would have never seen each other again, given how poorly the date was going up until then. Well, that would have saved you from ruining the next 3 to 4 weeks of your life with this woman. Like, why are you so concerned that, if I hadn't have done this, then we'd never seen each other again? Like, it doesn't... Mistake 8. Because and obviously I can see this, you have mental health problems. So you are a walking red flag. Because anybody that's mentally stable goes through something like this, they're not concerned about this. And a lot of things with mental health is also spiritual. When you sin, when you become godless and you turn away from God, you're going to be quite tormented. And I know you've been involved in things that are not godly, which we're going to get into now. But mistake number 8, going to see her again for a second date, being too available. Mistake 9, being indecisive. Mistake 10, when we went on a date to cook together, I did most of the cooking. How was that a mistake? Mistake 11, maybe, I didn't grab onto the issue of her ex harassing her and trying to cheer her up or console her during our third date. When we cuddled after hooking up on date number 3, she said, "Are you sure you want to tonight? Maybe you should drive home before you're too tired." Which I didn't go along with, but in hindsight, she basically didn't want to be close to me and cuddle. Man, she's just a prostitute, basically. Whether you want to admit that or not, that's really what she is. Mistake 13, I brought coffee for both of us for each date. Like, now you're getting into like incel level type. Did I do the right thing? I'm not. Number 14, all the dates were boring, too similar. Okay. Mistake 15, I never set definite dates. Mistake 16, I basically let her know that she could catch a ride to see me leading up to my work deadline, which communicated that I would make time for her if she came to see me, but not the other way around, which contradicts that I was too busy the week with work. Yeah, because you're playing mind games. You're not being genuine. Like, this is what you're doing. You're playing a character. You're following dating, hookup, and strategy from these pickup artists and red pillars that are lying to you. This isn't genuine. It's not righteous. And because your entire interaction with her was founded on degeneracy and immorality, that's exactly what you get. You sow bad seeds, you're going to reap bad fruit. Mistake 17, I chased her twice after she went hot and cold. Like, okay, the rest of the mistakes he says here doesn't matter. It's all just, But I want to just recap a few more things. So, as you can see, this guy here doesn't understand anything about relationships. Those are just some of the mistakes he says he's listed. I'm not going to go through the rest because he's written a 25-page PDF, which, for future reference, for those of you that want to write an email, don't make it too long because I simply can't put all the information into a video. So let's just get into a little bit more about their situation, and then we're going to close the video. So he said they met by chance in a local cafe. Okay. When she found out I was local, she said that she would find me on Facebook and message me. Obviously, I live in a very rural area, and she was probably surprised to meet another local man her age whom she didn't already know. So she's like you, in her late 20s, and she's already ruined her entire life. There's probably less than 5,000 people in this town. So she lets me and my brother-in-law know that she has 3 children aged 2 to 5, that she's a recovering hard drug addict, sober for 4 years, who is very lonely around here because she lost all of her drug user friends when she got sober, and that she was currently unemployed. So the red flags that he mentioned before in the list are already coming out. Sometimes just by asking questions, you can already figure out or get more feedback on who someone is and make a righteous assessment. Part of her hair was dyed red, which is something I was wary of. I don't want to date progressives, which what a hairstyle might be indicative of. Even though she's quite aligned with me politically, just not as informed. She messaged me within an hour after meeting the cafe, asking me if my Facebook photo is older, my location isn't up to date, but I was busy and didn't answer. She double messaged me a few hours later, but I was still busy, so I didn't answer. She then tracks down my brother-in-law's Facebook profile from just his first name and asks for his number and asks if I'm single. That was the red flag, how desperate she was to get in touch with me. Yeah. A few hours later, I messaged her back. She continued to initiate texts daily, showing high interest. Well, so I set a definite date, we went for a hike, things like that. But every day until things started to break, she was initiating texting with me daily. Usually early in the morning, a few times throughout the day. Sometimes she'll double, triple, or quadruple text if I didn't reply for a few or several hours. I typically didn't answer for 2 to 8 hours, but unless she texted me right back after I texted her back. Okay. So this is when he's talking about his mistakes, his texting availability, he's playing games. She tells me something like this before our first date: it needs to be fun. My past relationships failed because they got boring. No, her past relationships failed because she's basically a hoe. He says that's probably a red flag, yeah. Sometime during the early days, she told me that her ex still wants her back, but she's not interested in him anymore. A day or two prior to our date, she tells me she took a 45-minute drive to help babysit her nephew while her brother's out of town. What about her own children, right? She said her brother's girlfriend was struggling while doing it alone, so she said she'd be home by Thursday, if not by Friday. I checked the weather, and it wasn't supposed to rain either days, so I suggested we postpone our date to Friday, and that she shouldn't be worried. If I know she's babysitting, it doesn't matter. So Wednesday evening, she messages me how excited she feels for me. Then she sends me some clothed pictures of herself showing off her body, which was on a Snapchat, which had a timestamp on it, indicating that she'd sent it to someone else before screenshotting and sending to me. Even though she was getting to know me, she was still trying to draw in other men. It turns out that night she posted on TikTok a video of herself doing a brief clothed sexualized dance, ending with her showing off her. Okay, gonna keep that PG. I did not become aware of this until sometime after things broke up with her. But regardless, you stayed despite she had all these issues, so it's still your fault because you decided to stay with her. At this time, I was unsure whether I wanted to be romantic with her or be friends, because she was a single mother and I had a preconception that I probably didn't want to get involved with single moms. So why didn't you uphold your standard? Because you were lustful. So yeah, he continues along. They meet. He did all the things, driving, doing all the favors that he spoke about. He was simply going along with things now because he was just desperate. He said, so here I am with this woman I barely know, and I'm taking care of her brother's girlfriend, her brother's 1st and 4-year-old children. Most of our time together during the day was awkward, and she was often on her phone on social media. This is when I made the mistake of tolerating her being on her phone. She's not into you, right? We learned a bit about each other's interests and beliefs, and I came to find that we were both into New Age spirituality. So you're both godless. New Age is Satanism wrapped up in a nice cloth for you. She says she didn't like or value Christianity. Yeah, of course she doesn't. I can see that. But I do, though. I'm just not a Christian. Yeah, that's why you're spitting in God's face and you wonder why things ain't working out to you in a relationship. Look at your lifestyle, New Age. That's occultism and witchcraft. Ain't gonna do any good to you, mate. Stay away from that. This was possibly a red flag because she was anti-Christian. Yeah, but you're not Christian yourself either, so. I asked her about her living situation. She said she often stayed with her parents because of her loneliness. I asked her what did she do with her parents, and she said not much. Well, yeah, they're not close. I should have asked more about her family, her parents and their relationship, which was one of my mistakes. But when we were talking, she would sometimes ask me questions about myself, but half of the topics in which she had a chance to, she didn't. This seemed to be in part due to her anxiety, but it also might indicate that some things, say about me, weren't interesting her that much. Well, it's not about you. She just wasn't truly interested in getting to know you. She was using you, as she's always used people before, because she's damaged. So later in the day, I noticed how, he mentions here how addicted she was because of the THC. She couldn't live without it, so she was acting out of whack. Another issue. And this is when he offered to get the THC for her, do all the rest. Okay. Then I briefly met her aunt when she picked up her supply, whom she'd apparently told me, which was a good sign. I realized afterwards that I actually met her aunt once months ago in the grocery store, so we chatted briefly. We got back to my place, hung out for a bit, playing a fun card game. Then I asked about what she's looking for as a single mother. I made it clear I didn't want to be a stepfather or anything like that. She was good with what I wanted, which immediately led us to hooking up. I stood her up, kissed her, and it went from there. Yeah, because you don't know what you want, you're just leading with your lust. So you're going to attract a woman who's the same. She was very aggressive, intimately speaking, and wanted to do the deed as quick as possible, seemingly like she was in a hurry. Yeah, she didn't, like, this girl has no integrity at all. I asked her whether she was on birth control to figure out why she tried what she did. She said she had a tube tied because she almost died during childbirth with the youngest, but her ex kept wanting to pumping children out of her, and this was her way of taking control of that situation. Very toxic, right? Look at the life she's chosen for herself. I drive her home, where she starts dropping details on me that she'd concealed before. She goes on to basically tell me she'd only been split up with her abusive ex for 1 month, rather than the 2 years she told me previously. And since she split with him, she's never seen her children since. She also tells me of the brutal ways in which he had abused her. This actually appears to be true, given the fact that she shared some of the signs on Facebook with family and friends. She says in passing that I cannot put up with him much longer, and she tells me that he has a restraining order on her. And it sounds like he manipulated the situation to get it for sake of leverage against her and for a child custody's sake. So she has no access to the 3 children. So here I am finding out that I'm a rebound to a messy situation within an hour of us having sex. Well, look at the type of woman you're with. It became clear that she had a victim mindset, believing most of her current life problems were the fault of her ex. Well, who chose her ex? She chose that man. And she paid the price in full for it. We get back to her brother's place. She sits on my lap. We talk for a bit and she leaves. Then the next day she's texting me, telling me that she's never met a man who was so sweet and gentle with her, that I'm so lovely with her. Yeah, imagine that. So she's in her late 20s, multiple kids with different men, and now she's saying, oh, finally found a good man. What was she doing all this time? She talks about her future plans. She wants to get certified and do a rehab clinic, whatever happens to be. And then sometime a couple of days later, I offer another date. She accepts. And then within a day or two, she says that she's sick and probably not able to see me for a week. So I didn't reply. And at this time, I figured she was becoming unsure of seeing me again. Maybe changed her mind. So a couple of days after that, she's texted me about how much she wants to come and see me right now and have a sexual release. So she disappears and only wants you for something intimate. She's bypassing the entire process of getting to know you because she lacks dignity. But yet you're trying to stay with a woman like this. You're enabling her behavior because you're sitting there tolerating it instead of walking away. So during the date, she discloses to me that she lied about how many children she has. She actually had 4 with 2 different men. And that she had little involvement with the oldest son's life because back then she was a drug addict. So, yeah, that's basically what happened. And then, so she's pretty much lying. She's slowly revealing things to him. So, this is pretty much what happened. And then, that's the situation. Then she left with some other guy, and he's saying this guy monkey punched her she monkey bunched to this other guy, but that's not really the case because you were never in a relationship. You were two immoral people engaging in casual sex. She'd come out of a long-term relationship and she runs off to another guy. You were just the clueless, lustful man that she took advantage of. Because any man who has high standards for himself would have never been involved in the first place. So regardless of the mistakes that you've listed here, you lack a lot of understanding. You know, I'm saying that you're a very codependent guy, and he mentions that too. But I'm not going to continue on anymore because he's literally written 25 pages, right? I'm going to keep going, look. He's written 25 pages with everything, so there's no reason for me to carry on here. But this video's gone on long enough. But I hope this has been made clear enough to all of you watching. This is what happens when you get involved with the wrong woman. Look how they met. Look how desperate she was. Sleeps with him, then slowly starts revealing everything. She starts to pull away. What, they just have 3 dates? Then she disappears. And then he finds out on Facebook she's with some other guy. You were never in a relationship, dude. You're in fantasy in your head. You were never serious with this girl. There was no mention of you both being committed, spending your lives together, and you shouldn't have anyway. You should actually be grateful that it's over and that this mess of a woman is now out of your life and she's going to be somebody else's problem. But what you need to do is turn from that new age stuff, get yourself right with God, accept Christ, okay? Pick up your Bible, get your morals right, and do things God's way. Follow His will for your life, and you'll find a good woman. Because if you do not prepare to be a father or a husband righteously, you will never find a good woman like that. Because a woman who has made herself ready for marriage, she wants a man who's done the same. And she's going to see a man like you, go on a couple dates, talk a little bit, and realize this guy's insecure, so he's not fit to lead me. He doesn't really know what he wants, right? So he's not going to protect me. And he's not going to provide for me because he doesn't know how to take care of himself emotionally. You have a lot of mental problems. You want to reduce, minimize, and overcome that. And then you'll be ready. Okay? There's no shame in taking a moment to be single, heal, build yourself up accordingly. But you have a lot of unlearning and a lot of undoing, rebuilding and relearning. Okay? Be patient with yourself. Take it day by day. But to those of you watching, I hope you've learned from that. Look at all the red flags he listed. Just some of the mistakes he covered, because I didn't get into all of it. The video's gone on long enough. But this is what happens when men are clueless. You're led astray by your own vanity, your own pride, your own lust. Okay, dating isn't a game. You're playing with your life. You want to take that very seriously. Because if you don't, you're not going to take the other person seriously either. So many men and women ruin their lives by being involved with the wrong partner. And I do not want that to happen to you. For those of you who are young and single, take a leaf out of Jimmy's book, okay? Even though he lacks understanding, he has a lot of balls to share what he went through so that you can learn from it. Apply it to your life and save yourself any unnecessary heartache. So if you have a case study this is similar or anything you'd like to share for me to upload in a future video, the email is down below in the description. If you'd like to book a coaching call to learn more about what I teach or join my coaching program, my website is also down below in the description. Book a call and see if you're eligible to join. With that said, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below of this email that I covered, and I'll see you all in the next one. God bless all of you and your families.